Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 2, Text 27. Tasyaivam Bharata Sapam, Shrutvadvijakulayavai, Brigu Pratyasra Jakchapam, Brahmadandham Duratyayam. When all the hereditary Brahmanas were thus cursed by Nandishvar, the sage Brigu, as a reaction, condemned the followers of Lord Śiva with this very strong Brahminical curse. Purport. The word Duratyaya is particularly used in reference to a Brahmandala, or curse by a Brahmana. A curse by a Brahmana is very strong. Therefore, it's called Duratyaya, or insurmountable. As the Lord states in Bhagavad Gita, the stringent laws of nature are insurmountable. Similarly, if a curse is uttered by a Brahmana, that curse is also insurmountable. But Bhagavad Gita also says that the curses or benedictions of the material world are, after all, material creations. The Chaitanya Charitamrita confirms that that which is accepted in this material world to be a benediction and that which is taken to be a curse are both on the same platform because they are material. To get out of this material contamination, one should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as recommended in Bhagavad Gita 7.14. Mam me vaye prapadyante vayam etam tarantite. The best path is to transcend all material curses and benedictions and take shelter of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, and remain in a transcendental position. Persons who have taken shelter of Krishna are always peaceful. They are never cursed by anyone, nor do they attempt to curse anyone. That is a transcendental position. 28. Bhavavrata darayecha, yechatan samanuvrata, Pashandinaste bhavantu, Sachchastra paripantina. One who takes a vow to satisfy Lord Śiva or who follows such principles will certainly become an atheist and be diverted from transcendental scriptural injunctions. Purport. It is sometimes seen that devotees of Lord Śiva imitate the characteristics of Lord Śiva. For example, Lord Śiva drank an ocean of poison, so some followers of Lord Śiva imitate him and try to take intoxicants like ganja, marijuana. Here, the curse is that if someone follows such principles, he must become an infidel and turn against the principles of Vedic regulation. It is said that such devotees of Lord Śiva will be Sachchastra paripantina, which means opposed to the conclusion of Shastra or scripture. This is confirmed in the Padma Purana also. Lord Śiva was ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to preach the impersonal or Mayavad philosophy for a particular purpose, just as Lord Buddha preached the philosophy of voidness for a particular purpose mentioned in the Shastras. Sometimes it is necessary to preach a philosophical doctrine which is against the Vedic conclusion. In the Śiva Purana, it is stated that Lord Śiva said to Parvati that in Kali Yuga, in the body of a Brahmana, he would preach the Mayavad philosophy. Thus, it is generally found that the worshippers of Lord Śiva are Mayavadi followers. Lord Śiva himself says, Mayavadam asatchastram. Asatchastra, as explained here, means the doctrine of Mayavad impersonalism, or becoming one with the Supreme. Brigu Muni cursed that persons who worship Lord Śiva would become followers of that. Among the worshippers of Lord Śiva, there is a section who will live a devilish life. Srimad Bhagavatam and Narada Pancharatra are authorized scriptures that are considered as Sat Shastra, or scriptures which lead one to the path of God realization. Asat Shastras are just the opposite. Text 29. Nastaso cha mutadiyo jata basmasti dharina vishantu shiva dikshayam yatra daivam surashavam. Those who vow to worship Lord Shiva are so foolish that they imitate him by keeping long hair on their heads. Then, initiated into worship of Lord Shiva, they prefer to live on wine, flesh, and other such things. Purport. Indulging in wine and meat, keeping long hair on one's head, not bathing daily, and smoking ganja, marijuana, are some of the habits which are accepted by foolish creatures who do not have regulated lives. By such behavior, one becomes devoid of transcendental knowledge. In the initiation into the Shiva mantra, there are mudrik shastaka, in which it is sometimes recommended that one may make his sitting place on the vagina and thus desire nirvana, or dissolution of existence. In that process of worship, wine is needed, or sometimes in the place of wine, palm tree juice, which is converted into an intoxicant. This is also offered according to the Shiva Agama, a scripture on the method of worshiping Lord Shiva. Text 30. Brahmacha brahmanamschaiva yadyuyam parinidata setum vidharanam pumsam atapasandam ashrita. Bhrigu Muni continued, since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmanas, who are followers of the Vedic principles, it is understood that you have already taken shelter of the doctrine of atheism. Bhrigu Muni, in cursing Nandishvar, said that not only would they be degraded as atheists because of this curse, but they had already fallen to the standard of atheism because they had blasphemed the Vedas, which are the source of human civilization. Human civilization is based on the qualitative division of social order, namely the intelligent class, the martial class, the productive class, and the laborer class. The Vedas provide the right direction for advancing in spiritual cultivation and economic development, and regulating the principle of sense gratification, so that ultimately one may be liberated from material contamination to his real state of spiritual identification, aham brahmasmi. As long as one is in the contamination of material existence, one changes bodies from the aquatics up to the position of Brahma. But the human form of life is the highest perfectional life in the material world. The Vedas give directions by which to elevate oneself in the next life. The Vedas are the mother for such instructions, and the Brahmanas, or persons who are in knowledge of the Vedas, are the father. Thus, if one blasphemes the Vedas and Brahmanas, naturally one goes down to the status of atheism. The exact word used in Sanskrit is nastika, which refers to one who does not believe in the Vedas, but manufactures some concocted system of religion. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that the followers of the Buddhist system of religion are Nastikas. In order to establish his doctrine of nonviolence, Lord Buddha flatly refused to believe in the Vedas, and thus later on Shankaracharya stopped his system of religion in India and forced it to go outside. Here it is stated, Brahmacha Brahmanam. Brahma means the Vedas, aham brahmasmi means I am full in knowledge. The Vedic assertion is that one should think that he is Brahman, for actually he is Brahman. If Brahma, or the Vedic spiritual science, is condemned, and the masters of the spiritual science, the Brahmanas, are condemned, then where does human civilization stand? Bhrigu Muni said, it is not due to my cursing you, that you shall become an atheist. You are already situated in the principle of atheism. Therefore, you are condemned. Text 31. Isha eva hilokanam Śiva panta sanatana yam purve chanustantastur yat pramanam janardana. The Vedas give the eternal regulative principles for auspicious advancement in human civilization, which have been rigidly followed in the past. The strong evidence of this principle is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is called Janardana, the well-wisher of all living entities. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, has claimed that he is the father of all living entities, regardless of form. There are 8,400,000 different species of life forms, and Lord Krishna claims he is the father of all. Because the living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are all sons of the Lord. And for their benefit, because they are hovering under the impression that they can lord it over material nature, the Vedas are given to them for their guidance. Therefore, the Vedas are called aparishya, apurusaya, for they are not written by any man or demigod, including the first living creature, Brahma. Brahma is not the creator or author of the Vedas. He is also one of the living beings in this material world. Therefore, he does not have the power to write or speak the Vedas independently. Every living entity within this material world is subject to 4 deficiencies. He commits mistakes, he accepts one thing for another, he cheats, and he has imperfect senses. The Vedas, however, are not written by any living creature within this material world. Therefore, they are said to be apurusaya. No one can trace out the history of the Vedas. Of course, modern human civilization has no chronological history of the world or the universe, and it cannot present actual historical facts older than 3,000 years. But no one has traced out when the Vedas were written, because they were never written by any living being within this material world. All other systems of knowledge are defective because they have been written or spoken by men or demigods who are products of this material creation. But Bhagavad Gita is apurusaya, for it was not spoken by any human being or any demigod of this material creation. It was spoken by Lord Krishna, who is beyond the material creation. That is accepted by such stalwart scholars as Sankaracharya, not to speak of other acharyas like Ramanujacharya and Madhavacharya. Shankaracharya has accepted that Narayan and Krishna are transcendental, and in Bhagavad Gita also Lord Krishna established Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mata Sarvam Pravartate. I am the origin of everything. Everything emanates from me. This material creation, including Brahma and Śiva and all the demigods, has been created by him, for everything has emanated from him. He also says that the purpose of all the Vedas is to understand him. Vedaischa sarvairaham eva Vedya. He is the original Vedavit, or knower of the Vedas, and Vedanta Krit, or compiler of Vedanta. Brahma is not the compiler of the Vedas. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is established Tene Brahma Hrida. The Supreme Absolute Truth, the Personality of Godhead, instructed Brahma in the Vedic knowledge through his heart. Therefore, the evidence that Vedic knowledge is free from the defects of mistakes, illusions, cheating, and imperfection is that it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana, and has thus been followed from time immemorial, beginning from Brahma. The Vedic religion, or the principles of the Vedas, have been followed by the highly cultured population of India since time immemorial. No one can trace out the history of Vedic religion, therefore it is Sanatana, and any blasphemy against the Veda is calculated to be atheism. The Vedas are described as setu, which means a bridge. If one wants to attain his spiritual existence, one has to cross an ocean of nescience. The Vedas are the bridge by which to cross such a great ocean. The Vedas describe how to divide the human race into 4 divisions according to quality and working capacity. This is a very scientific system, and it is also Sanatana, for no one can trace out its history, and it has no dissolution. No one can stop the system of Varna and Ashram, or the castes and divisions. For example, whether or not one accepts the name Brahmana, there is a class in society which is known as the intelligent class, and which is interested in spiritual understanding and philosophy. Similarly, there is a class of men who are interested in administration and in ruling others. In the Vedic system, these martially spirited men are called Kshatriyas. Similarly, everywhere there is a class of men who are interested in economic development, business, industry, and money making. They are called Vaishyas. And there is another class who are neither intelligent nor martially spirited, nor endowed with the capacity for economic development, but who simply can serve others. They are called Sudras, or the laborer class. This system is Sanatana. It comes from time immemorial, and it will continue in the same way. There is no power in the world which can stop it. Therefore, since this Sanatan Dharma system is eternal, one can elevate himself to the highest standard of spiritual life by following Vedic principles. It is stated that formerly the sages followed this system. Therefore, to follow the Vedic system is to follow the standard of etiquette of society. But the followers of Lord Śiva, who are drunkards, who are addicted to intoxicants and sex life, who do not bathe and who smoke ganja, are against all human etiquette. The conclusion is that persons who rebel against the Vedic principles are themselves the evidence that the Vedas are authoritative, because by not following the Vedic principles, they become like animals. Such animalistic persons, are themselves evidence of the supremacy of the Vedic regulations. And thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 32 on Friday. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Shanta Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees. Sama Bhaktivedanta Vrindi Ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Nrsimhapali Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Sham Kund Radha Kund. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagi Ki Jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yagi Ki Jai. Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Institute Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari 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 Bol, Jai Shrimati Uma Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.